Welcome from the deep. I am Mike the Finder.
And I am ovulating.
Ew. What the f***?
What? It's a natural process.
No, it wasn't what you said. It was the smirk with which you said it that was the problem.
What? I'm proud of the things, of the functions my body is going through.
Well, it matches his shirt. Am I right?
This is made of silk. Spiders wove this, we are to believe.
This is like when you say to somebody, oh man, that shirt's really ugly. And they say, this is Versace.
Versace's a name. This is a fabric. It's a lifestyle, Mike. Silk clothing is a lifestyle. I'm a silk guy now.
Well, at least his personality matches the way he dresses.
Yeah. Empty, vapid, fabulous.
One too many. You went one too far.
Splendiferous.
Why are you posed like you're fucking a magician?
Because of what we're reviewing today. Segue like a motherfucker.
All right, so today we're going to be doing Goosebumps. I wore a special Goosebumps shirt, and it's a TV show that exists. People made it with their brains, or
are they technically TV shows anymore? Can we technically call them TV shows anymore?
I watched it on my TV.
Isn't everything episodic a miniseries now?
No, a miniseries has a very limited run.
This should have.
Well, we'll get to that. What's interesting about this is I think you said somebody requested this. Is that right?
Somebody did request this. Yes, Justin Trombley, which is funny. He was actually one of the directors on the feature film that I made that's coming out next year.
Okay, so
he watches our YouTube channel. Thank you, Justin, for paying attention to the channel. It's always nice when people that like know film that in depth and that intimately watch the channel, so I really do appreciate that. So basically what happened was I made a post on Facebook. This is gonna tie into what we're gonna get into. I made a post on Facebook after the 8th episode saying how much I enjoyed the first season of Goosebumps. There are 10 episodes, so I thought the season was ending after episode 8. It was not. It ended after episode 10.
Yep.
And after I made that post, he was like, "How did you already watch episodes 9 and 10?" At which point, I deleted the post. And so I waited for episodes 9 and 10 to come out, and after the 10th one came out, he left a comment, or he messaged me. That's right, he DM'd me and said, "Hey, I'm really looking forward to your review of it." Which meant, of course, we had to review it because for any of our viewers, we will review the things you suggest.
Within reason, we sure will.
Nope.
Yep.
Nope.
Yep.
No.
Yep.
No.
Yep.
See, I like you guys a lot more than Mike does. He
Yep.
talks mad shit on all 344 of you all the time. Like he
Yeah, I'm like that one guy. Fuck.
He pulls
that
you
one
up individually, and he goes, "Fuck Lisa 1, 2, 3. I'm not doing it. I don't care." That's what he does.
Yeah, that's true. If we can all get past my hatred for all of you, we're gonna talk about Goosebumps today.
Yes, we are.
I don't know about you, but I had just so many of the fucking books growing up. I really liked Fear Street. R.L. Stine was the boss when I was a kid. So I was super into all this stuff, but I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I remember a lot of it because I don't.
Scholastic Book Fair was just
no, I'm talking about the specific stories. I am not super.
Yeah, I remember those too.
I'm not super. I don't know, up to date with all that stuff because it was fucking longer ago than is your magician shirt failing you? What's happening?
Okay, just because I'm a magician does not mean the garb that I wear is a magician's outfit. It was made by spiders, not magic. Those spiders often associate with magicians. So I might be supporting your point right now.
That was so stupid. Let me say this first before we get into this. We are not going to go episode by episode on this. We're going to be talking broad strokes.
We'll be here forever.
We will talk spoilers, but until we talk spoilers, this will be spoiler free, and we will give you a heads up before we start spoiling things.
Yeah, and there aren't really many spoilers in this until we get to the last couple episodes.
Yes, that's true. So if you would, do you want to give us broad strokes about what happens in season 1 of Goosebumps?
Yeah, I'm going to do the best I can on this. I don't really have like a funny comedic one for this. So Goosebumps 2023 is basically an anthology series where each episode is a book in the series or one of the books in the series, kind of wrapped up in an anthology package. I can't give a synopsis of this like a movie because otherwise we're going to give some shit away.
I mean, I guess that's true.
But it's, it's a bunch of high school kids, Justin Long, Goosebumps.
Wow. So for everyone's benefit, let's jump over to the podcast drive-in.
Please, hurry.
Goosebumps is a TV series from this year. It's rated TV 14. Each episode is 40 to 45 minutes. That's the thing. The one-sentence synopsis here on IMDb says a group of 5 high schoolers unleash supernatural forces upon their town. Now they must work together in order to save it. So
that's not correct.
It is. It is correct.
No, it's not. No, the high school kids do not unleash the supernatural forces.
Yeah, they do.
No. What? A group that isn't the.
That's what it says. A group.
I'm so mad. I'm so mad right now because I can't get into how wrong that is. Or sorry,
right.
not wrong.
It's a group.
It's right. It's super misleading, and you know it is.
I don't know what you mean.
How misleading that is.
I don't know what you mean. A group of 5 high schoolers.
If you stick through this episode for no other reason, please let it be to know that I was right.
So this was created by Rob Letterman, Nicholas Stoller, and it stars Zach Morris. So, yeah, that's weird, right? We'll get to that in a second.
Weird.
Isa Briones, this girl, and then Miles McKenna.
Okay, that's not fair. Let me see.
What's her name? Isa? I don't think that's right. What? Now pronounce the last name.
Well, if you put them together, it's Isabriones. It's clearly Spanish. Isabriones.
Okay. Jesus Christ. So that's the girl with the Jay Leno chin. And then
where's your train wreck soundboard effect, you dipshit?
And then we have Zach Morris.
Oh, he's Zach Morris?
That's his real name.
So the exact antithesis of the Saved by the Bell guy?
What's interesting is he's actually from England, which means his fucking accent was like really good.
Spot on?
Yeah. I didn't even know. Wow. I couldn't tell that at all. So, oof. And then, yeah.
He's pretty.
So this has a 6.7 out of 10 on IMDb. And I personally feel like that might be a little high. But I want to know how you feel about this because you going into this, you had a much more positive attitude about watching a grounded Goosebumps than I did. So
I had not only a much more enjoyable time, I had a much more enjoyable pretext because you went into this knowing you had to cram 10 episodes in.
In 2
I started watching. I started watching this like when it came out, and when it originally came out, I think they released like a couple of the first episodes, and then they released them weekly.
So I can see why you thought it ended after episode 8. Then, like I could see that there was another episode while I was watching that episode.
When I watched episode 8. There wasn't an episode 9 to watch yet.
Yeah.
And I've been doing a really good job of not going online and looking stuff up. I've been really, really trying to go into stuff in general as blind as I possibly could, especially when we're doing stuff like this.
Yeah.
So in that regard, I had a much more enjoyable experience. I was looking forward to this because I really liked the books. I have not watched the movies with Jack Black, but I've actually heard they're not bad.
Me neither.
But I also really enjoyed the show when I was a kid.
I did too. I liked the show, not nearly as much as I liked the books, because I remember even as a kid, I was like, oh my God, the books are like 10 times better than this TV show.
Yeah, but I still liked it because, you know, it was a horror. It was basically like, you know, it wasn't Are You Afraid of the Dark, which I kind of liked.
Oh, I liked that one a lot, yeah.
No, which I kind of liked that I had an alternative to Are You Afraid of the Dark. So I really liked this series right up until episode 9. Episode 9, I'm getting ahead of myself, but after episode 8, I don't know what the fuck happened except to say that they stretched themselves too thin. But other than that, for the majority, I mean, 80% of this series I really liked. 80% so far because somehow we're getting a season 2.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with just about all that. I think that if you were to... I think if you were to stop season 1 at episode 8 and then make episode 9 the first episode of season 2, it would make way more sense than it does. And we could go 100%. Way more in deep with the stuff that is in episode 9 and episode 10. So
I just don't understand what the problem is with just making it a mini series. Like, don't make it don't make it a multi-season series. Just make it a mini series.
Well, you're limiting yourself. If it takes off, then
I know it'd be weird if we worried about the story more.
No, you're thinking in the wrong direction. You have to be worried about how you're going to monetize it correctly, and then way lower on the list, you start worrying about story and how it all feeds together with the original source material and how much of it you're going to fucking change.
How often do I say capitalism is the shit?
The views expressed by Book of Bread are not necessarily the views of both of us.
Bring it.
So I don't know. I think that I really disliked this a lot. Episode 1 through 4, like a lot.
Oh, really?
Oh, a lot. Yeah. I found it so hard to get through the first 4 episodes, and I actually remember
that is a lot to force yourself.
It is, and it put me in a really foul fucking mood. But like, the thing about it though is that when I booted up episode 1, I remember getting to the point where the kid jumps off the roof on the skateboard and then turning it off because I was like, this is not for me. This is not for me at all. Because that's like scene 2 in episode 1. That's
what I was going to say. That's like 15 minutes into the fucking episode. That's basically the beginning pretext and then after the credits.
Here's my biggest issue with this series, okay? Who in the hell is this for? Because it's aimed at people our age. It's also aimed who grew up with it, who know the name brand Goosebumps, because otherwise you would just make this its own original series. Right. And then it's aimed towards Gen Z with all of the... There's even a millennial joke, like, that's funnier than a millennial who heard one word on TikTok one time and now uses it in their regular...
There's some shitty dialogue in here.
There's stuff like that in there, so it's aimed at Gen Z. And I feel like if you're a kid, a younger kid, like 8 or 9 or 10, whenever we were watching and reading these books, this is too hardcore for them, but it's not hardcore enough for like a 14, 15, 16-year-old. And it's so aimed at Gen Z that as a millennial watching it, I was feeling a little left out, alienated. Yes. Yeah. So my biggest problem with this entire show is I don't know who the fuck it's for. If it's for us, as somebody who grew up with this stuff, make it more hardcore. Toward the end, they do start to get a little more hardcore with it. They even make some sex jokes. And like, I don't think there's one fucking curse word in this entire show. So it's just like, I don't know who the fuck this was made for. And as a Goosebumps
That's
fan
a really
growing
good point,
up,
actually.
I felt like I liked the kids' show because it was aimed at kids our age. And looking back at it, it holds up pretty well if you have the nostalgia for it. But this, I feel like, is so... They tried to go like the Batman Begins route with it, where they ground everything in reality super hard, which I feel like kind of holds them back a little bit toward the beginning. And then toward the middle, I started to really get into it. And then we hit episode 9, and I felt the same way, where it's like, this should be the first episode of season 2. And you should have made episode 8... episode 10 and write 2 more fucking episodes. I don't know if you had maybe some source material to pull from, like dozens and dozens and dozens of books that you could have also fed into 2 more episodes to get to episode 10. I don't know. I'm just thinking off my feet here.
It's almost like Disney going, no, it's not the universe, it's the legends now for Star Wars. And me just sitting here going, why? There's 40 years to pull for. You don't have to do anything.
Even as somebody who was into Goosebumps when I was a kid, I'm not super precious about that material because, again, I don't remember it super well. But I remember loving it when I was a kid.
Of information to pull from.
Say that again?
Yeah, I said you had a plethora of information to pull from.
Yeah.
And I'm telling, dude, this is the thing I liked about episodes 1 through 8. Is even though they're clearly going for a certain demographic, even though they're clearly, it doesn't really feel like they know exactly who they're going for, or the opposite of that, or not the opposite, or the other option is they're trying to go for too many. It's not that they don't know; it's that they know who they want to. They just don't know how to hit all of them at the same time.
Yeah.
1 through 8 still felt like Goosebumps to me.
Yeah, for sure.
It still had an element of Goosebumps. Episode 9 feels like the beginning of a really shitty Twilight soap opera. Like that's what like the Twilight movies as a fucking soap opera, like life's changing and I don't know how to deal with it. We're gonna go to Portland, the worst place to find yourself as a human being. We're gonna go there.
Well, they're not wrong about that part.
And then we're gonna get super cynical out of no reason, cause Portland. Like dude, when episode 9 rolls around, I'm sitting here and going, it doesn't even feel like the same show anymore. And as we progress through 9 and 10, it never, ever, ever feels like Goosebumps after episode 8. And I will say this, 1 through 8, they've got their issues. Episodes 1 through 8 have their issues, but they at least feel like a modicum of Goosebumps. Like there's at least a little bit of Goosebumps in there.
Yeah.
And then 9 and 10 roll around and I'm like, why? And this is why I was so reluctant to watch episode 9. Because, dude, honestly, the end of episode 8 is the perfect ending for season 1.
Dude, at the end of that episode, I was actually surprised to find there was another episode behind that. Because when I got to that, I was like, that was only episode 8. He said there were 10 of them. And then I saw that it started auto-playing episode 9. I was like, what the fuck are you going to do from here? Because I agree. At the end of episode 8, I actually thought to myself, okay, that was actually pretty good. The way they wrapped everything up, it was closure. Heartfelt. There's closure to all the stuff that they bring up. And so it really does feel like an end point for the show, or at least season 1, where you can be happy with them doing everything that they did. And then season 9 or episode 9 starts, and it really does feel like a different show. I completely agree.
Well, dude,
but
it's so forced.
But the thing is like, if I remember correctly, and I could be wrong because again, I'm not super familiar with the source material anymore, but I do think that the whole magician thing does come from Night of the Dummy, if I remember correctly. And there were two books, I think, Night of the Dummy Part 1 and Night of the Dummy Part 2. So I think all of that stuff does come from the source material, but but it feels different than the rest of it because it kind of feels disjointed from this kid where we started. Like this one kid is causing all of this stuff. And then we move over to a completely different antagonist, totally like right in the middle of it. It feels disjointed and weird.
It's like if you started the sequel to a prequel at the end of the prequel.
Well,
that's what it's like.
Yeah, because
we have a sequel that doesn't need to start yet, but they were like, well, fuck, how do we get 2 more? We have to have 10 episodes.
You know what it is, though? It's so that they can use this. It's Slappy is the most recognizable thing from Goosebumps. That and maybe the Haunted Mask. When you think Goosebumps, you think Slappy and you think Haunted Mask. Those are 2 of the best, I believe, 2 of the best-selling books of that whole series. So I understand why they wanted to get Slappy into it, but I don't think he should have been like the overall. We're getting into spoilers.
Well, okay. So before we do that, I want to say why Slappy becoming the centerpiece doesn't work after episode 8, because up until then they did such a good job of keeping each episode in the environment of the book that it's supposed to be in, wrapped in the anthology package. Right? Each episode is supposed to be a book, and each episode feels like that book. After episode 8, it's just an episode of Slappy. And that's what it is. And we no longer have the Goosebumps universe. We just have Slappy.
But no, I think that's what I'm saying, though. Is like because there were 2 books for Night of the Living Dummy Part 1 and 2, or Night of the Dummy, I can't remember what it's called. I think they felt like they could take 2 episodes to do that, but I think they just put them in the wrong fucking order. Like if you gave us, I don't know, I think you could a couple different things. And again, I don't like reviews where somebody is like, why didn't you make the movie in my head versus what you actually made? Like that's not a good review. But what I feel like they could have done is they could have made Justin Long's character find the dummy in the first place and like see episode 7. And then you could play out this whole thing with the dummy and then still put episode 8 where episode 10 is and kind of end up in the same exact place, but while having closure to all of that stuff. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does. But Mr. Pratt is also, which is Justin Long's character, is also the beginning of every issue I have with episodes 9 and 10. And he is the beginning of the main problem that is the only through line, in my opinion, of episodes 9 and 10, which is nobody learns lessons. Nobody in this fucking show. He goes back. He just got possessed. He went through this whole thing with the dummy. What does he do? He goes and gets the fucking dummy. This book is causing all the problems. What does Margot do to try and solve her problems? She uses the book for the 5th fucking time in this show since we've started it, a smoke monster.
Well,
why are there so many smoke monsters? Is this a cryptid that I didn't know about? Are there smoke monster cryptids out there just sprinkled throughout the world that we weren't aware of? Because there are so many smoke monsters.
I mean, I guess.
I was so excited. Episodes 1 through 8, I really liked them. I know you weren't crazy about them, but I kind of saw past like the holes
by
and shit like
episode 5, I was on board. Like by the middle of episode 5, I was like, okay, I actually kind of care about this.
Yeah, but you got 3 out of 8 episodes to enjoy.
Yeah.
One way or another, I enjoyed every episode from 1 through 8. I didn't love them. True. Don't get me wrong. I noticed there were issues. I really liked this. For episodes 1 through 8, and then episode 9 came around, and I was like, my pants are on. Why do I feel like I'm getting fucked so hard? Like, I don't know what happened other than they don't know what happened either. This felt like season 4 through 7 of Lost.
I mean, well, we fundamentally disagree on seasons 4 through 7 of Lost.
No. The last 2 episodes. The last two episodes.
I know what you mean. My point is, you say that, and I'm like, oh, I like those seasons of Lost, and you're like, fuck those seasons of Lost.
They were writing it as they were filming it.
Every show does that. Every show does that.
They fucked it up the hardest. The only ending worse than Lost is The Sopranos, and you can't argue that.
I like the ending of The Sopranos too, though.
You're so full of shit. Now I know you're full of shit. You didn't like The Sopranos?
Yeah, I did. I did.
No.
Yeah, I did.
You called me and told me you didn't like it.
No, that was probably me just being, because I know it's your favorite
because
show
you know how
time.
much I loved The Sopranos.
Yeah. That's why I sent you Gabagool memes for 3 weeks after I finished it.
You did do that. I love these little moments on this show because people get to see little insights into what happens when we're not doing this. Like telling me you didn't like something even though you did just because you know it'll upset me. That's what bullies do.
Or best friends since fucking 7th or 8th grade, whatever it is. I did like The Sopranos, just to be on record about that.
This is literally the first time I'm finding this out, actually.
Yeah, that's fair. No, it was good. I liked it. But back to Goosebumps. I think that all that happens here is they didn't have enough content. They couldn't figure out enough ways to wrap up enough of the books from the original source material to make 2 more episodes so that we get to season 2, which I would have been fine with if you keep those same 2 episodes, but put them like season 2, episode 1, I'd have been fine with it. But because you give me so much closure and finish everything up at season 8 so well, and then you just force me to sit through 2 more episodes that definitely feel tacked on because it's not even the same through fucking line that was going on through the first 8 episodes.
Exactly, except Slappy.
Yes. So let's get into spoilers. Let's get to be clear, we're going to start getting into spoilers here. No,
I could go on and on about how much 9 and 10 fuck everything up.
So let's just talk about the ending of episode 8 real quick when they find out that the kid has been taking over Justin Long's body, doing all of these crazy things so that he can exact his revenge on the original group's parents, who were the people that actually killed him.
Which is why I said the synopsis on IMDb is so incredibly fucking misleading.
I don't know what you're talking about. It says a group. Look, I'll zoom into it.
Yep.
A group.
Yep, it sure does.
A group.
It sure does. The first group we're introduced to is the current group of kids.
I'm just saying.
He knows what he's doing. He knows. Listen, don't you listen to him, okay? Or this is just he's not part of this. This is just you and I. He does this on purpose because he knows how much it bothers me. Don't listen to him. Don't listen to him. It's fine. He can't. This doesn't include him. He does this on purpose. He's a bad person, and he's gonna burn in hell for the things that he does. But for right now, we're just gonna have to push through the episode, and we're gonna have to get back into it.
Oh, I went over. God damn it! I have the wrong camera set up in here. Fuck. That was about to be a very funny bit where I do a whole thing afterwards.
Do you see how bad he sucks? I mean, he fucked up a transition. He can't even do that. I don't know why he bothers.
So much. This is why I am the way I am to him right here. Stuff like this.
He's trying to distract you, get in his head. This is an angel, devil, shoulder thing. Like, don't listen to him. It's fine. We'll get back to the episode now. So. Anyway, yeah, so it's a very, very misleading synopsis, and I just... What? Listen, me and the audience, we were having a private conversation. If you're going to eavesdrop, we're going to have to... Some boundaries, dude.
So anyway, yeah. Episode 9, huh?
Yeah, episode 9, man. It's just, I will say this.
That drove me crazy. Hang on.
Go ahead. Yeah, no.
When Justin Long is chasing Nora through the woods, he yells out the words "Nora the Explorer" as a ghost that died in 1993. How in the fuck does he have a reference to Dora the Explorer when he died in 1993?
Because he's in his head.
No, I don't accept that answer.
He's in his head.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, he's in his head. He's got it in there.
Fucking drove me crazy. Anyway,
Dora the Time Explorer.
Fucking yuck. So I think if we're going to get into spoilers here, let's just fucking get into spoilers. So
we did that already.
At the end of episode 8, they throw Slappy off of a fucking cliff. At the beginning of episode 9, what happens is Justin Long's like, hey, all this would make a really good book. I'm going to sit down and write this. Which, to be fair, at that point, I'm thinking, oh, this could be cool. Maybe like he's R.L. Stine or something, and they're gonna like go meta with this, and they're gonna get super weird with it, and then wrap this up into reality a little bit more, which could have been super fucking cool. But no, all it is Justin Long writes this book about the events that happened in episode 1 through 8, and he finds a publisher that was willing to put it out, and the publisher's like, this is great, but this ending that you have is not good enough. It's been done.
That's where the problem started for me, though, because we have no reference of how good this book is. So everything that she's saying, everything that makes it sound so awesome, automatically feels forced, because the only introduction we get, we don't even have a reference of him laboring over this book. We get a 2 to 3 minute montage of him writing this book, sending it off to a publisher, and a publisher going, "You're the next Stephen King."
Yeah, so
the whole thing feels really forced.
When all of that was
happening,
I kept expecting when those phone calls were going back and forth, especially when she says, "I think you could be the next Stephen King." When that happened, I kept expecting them to cut back to the publisher and then pan the camera over to the couch where Slappy is sitting on the couch or something,
because it
feels so fake and forced.
Yes.
I was like, this girl's under a spell, or like something weird is happening with but no, it's just a publisher who's really needy for this fucking ending and gives him a day to do it, which is that in and of itself is fucking insane.
I was gonna say, I'm no author, but I don't think you get 24 hours to write a conclusion into an entire story.
Maybe you do. Let's say you do. Either way, her fucking performance is so bad and bad, and the writing is so piss poor on the entire dialogue between her and him.
It's almost like her performance is saying, "Please believe me."
It's like a completely different person wrote the fucking script for episode 9 and 10. Like it's like
it completely falls apart.
All different people work on it or something. Did the writer's strike get in the way of episode 9 and 10? What the fuck happened? Like,
That's a really good point.
I don't know. Maybe that is what happened, and they couldn't figure out where to go after episode 8.
It's weird. It's like you should pay the people that are good the amount of money they deserve.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe if you don't, you end up with shit like this. But I don't know. That's just me guessing. But either way, it just feels like whenever Justin Long is like, I need a new ending to this whole book, he jumps to the conclusion of, I should go get Slappy out of the fucking woods.
Right.
Let alone,
because I forgot.
Do you remember how they make such a point of how far into the woods they go to find that fucking cliff, and he just stumbles upon fucking Slappy at the end?
So that
drove me fucking crazy. He looks for it for a total of 12 fucking seconds before he finds him.
This is a problem that I find in a lot of movies that we reviewed recently, where the story is propelled by convenience.
Yeah.
Where it's this happens so that we can get to the next point, not because each point or to use the script term, each beat and scene is supposed to be an experience. And we don't get that here. What we get is a stepping stone to another stepping stone to a fucking waterfall that goes off 150 feet and crashes to shit.
Well, I don't know if you've seen that clip of Matt and Trey from South Park where they're talking about how they write episodes of South Park. Have you seen that?
No.
Okay, so there's this clip where they go into a classroom and they're talking to a room full of wannabe writers or people in school for writing. And they said, and one of the things Trey says is he goes, the difference between a good script, I'm paraphrasing, but the difference between a good script and a bad script is a thing happens and then this happens. That's a bad script. A good script is a thing happens, therefore another thing happens.
That's such a good way of putting it.
Which is so fucking different than and then this happens. So if you can put and then between your beats, you're doing it wrong, which is how this feels. It does not feel like the first 8 episodes lead so, because the other thing is they barely touch on him being a writer at all. Like there's maybe one scene.
I didn't know he was a writer until episode
9. I vaguely remember him saying something because he's an English teacher and like all of that shit.
Do you think because he's an English teacher, they were like, of course he's a writer?
Yeah. And all I think about is failing writers whenever I think English teacher.
Miss McGowan, if you ever see this, you were awesome.
Yes, she was.
God, sorry. She was the shit.
Yeah, she was.
She was the shit.
So I just feel like they're doing the and then and not and therefore, which is why none of this makes any goddamn sense.
That's a good point. That's a really good way of putting it.
And if you think about it, because they wanted to use Night of the Dummy 1 and 2 as the 9 and 10 episode in this, I understand where that's coming from. I get all of that. But getting the backstory and even them having to deal with, what's his name? Kondu?
Can-do.
All of
they call it can-do, which is just very like...
All of that can still be done, and you can still give me all of the history and make a couple episode run from 7 and 8. You put those there, and then you can do 9 and 10, how they wrap everything up in 7 and 8. Like, that's how you solve this without it feeling disjointed and weird.
I think the best, just do an 8 episode season. What is wrong with that? What is wrong with an 8 episode season?
Well, I feel like they were probably like, give us 10 episodes, and they were like, okay, and then they got to see episode 8, and they were like, oh, we kind of wrote ourselves into a corner here. What do? Let's just use Night of the Living Dummy 1 and 2, even though we've already gotten rid of Slappy, which, can I just say, this is one of the things that enraged me for episode 6, 7, and 8. They kept saying things like, he's looking for him. He wants to find him. And if you know anything about Goosebumps, it's very fucking obvious they're talking about Slappy, but they don't want to say the word Slappy because it is so fucking dumb, and this show is so grounded in reality that they try really, really hard to not use the word Slappy until Slappy actually shows his fucking face, and then all bets are off because he starts turning these people into what can only be described as the worst makeup possible for people to look like dummies. And it's like all grounded reality goes out the fucking window, episode 9 and 10, and we're just supposed to accept it, even though the entire first 8 episodes are them setting up how grounded in reality this whole thing actually is, despite haunted masks and cuckoo clocks of doom and all of that other stuff. It still feels based in reality versus episode 9 and 10, where it all just falls apart.
Well, I think really the biggest problem here is that you have 8 episodes, which when wrapped in an anthology series are the best version of Goosebumps you're going to get within an anthology series. I think what we're learning here is that Goosebumps doesn't work that way. There isn't a through line. It's not like Fear Street where you have a through line. Fear Street has a through line. Goosebumps doesn't have a through line. You don't have one person being or one thing being the core cause of something or the center of something happening. This is really the best we get. The Cuckoo Clock of Doom is a great example. Even though it works really well, I personally think, I think the 90s show of Goosebumps is how you do Goosebumps. And what I would have really liked to see here is that, I mean, as much as I hate remakes and shit like that, I would have liked to see an adult version of that where you're not held by the confines of Nickelodeon or Fox or whatever, Fox Kids.
Dude, I was hoping that the
on.
entire thing, and this is where me thinking of I don't know who this is for comes from, because it is trying to serve so many people simultaneously that it falls short for everyone because of it. And so like as an adult, somebody who grew up with this series and now is obsessed with horror, partly because of those fucking books and that show, you know, what I wanted when it's presented of like, we're remaking Goosebumps into this more grounded sense of reality type shit. That's what I want. I want to see that kid burn alive. I want to, you know what I mean? I want gore. I want sex jokes and cursing and all of it, but they don't lean into it enough one way or the other, whether it's for kids or adults. And therefore it lives in this no man's land for no one.
We get a little bit of a glimpse of that with The Spire, where I went.
Yes.
A lot of bodies on fire.
Exactly.
And by the way, can we talk about how the hospital staff would have also been on The Spire? And I would love to know how they collected themselves so quickly to get back to work in an ER.
Yeah. Yep.
So, and that's the problem is episodes 1 through 8, it's got its problems, it's got its hiccups, whatever. Episode 9 and 10 is fucking Swiss cheese. Just full of plot holes, full of issues, full of... We go back to World War I, and that's the other thing. They use the whole thing with the war to like send this political message at one point. We were in a land we didn't belong in, fighting against a people we shouldn't have been fighting. Is this fucking Rambo? What are we watching right now? What is the lesson? The lesson is that this isn't how you make a fucking show.
Well, what's really a bummer about that is the guy that does play Candu, I really like him a lot. He's in You're the Worst. I don't know if you've watched that show, You're the Worst. Bro,
I haven't. I liked him as Candu.
You should definitely watch You're the Worst. You would fucking love that show, I'm telling you.
Yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
I highly suggest watching You're the Worst. It's a comedy. I think it's a half-hour comedy. But that guy is fantastic in it. And then the guy that makes puppets is from that show Love that got canceled after like 1 or 2 seasons on Netflix, which was also fucking great. Both of those guys are fantastic, and they both are terrible in the show. And I don't know if it's the writing or their acting. Maybe it's both.
I think it's the writing because honestly,
the costumes. Oh God!
I spent so long. By like episode 9, I'm sitting here going, what the fuck is happening right now?
Yeah.
Like with these characters, with the deliveries, with the acting, like everything just, and I think the writer's strike, you might be right. You might be onto something.
Maybe.
There, because it's such a drastic change. I mean, it is a drastic fucking change. And Justin Long and the guy that plays Candu and the guy that plays Hamar, I think is his name, the puppeteer, the puppet maker, the American Geppetto. I believe that their performances are so different from the lines they're delivering. You can't help but tell.
Yes,
this is the script, not them. You can tell because even through like the shitty dialogue and everything, I'm sitting here going like, I still know I can still tell that their performances are good, and that's the other thing. 9 and 10, the exposition is so heavy. In 9 and 10, like when Margot pulls out the book and Candu is getting wrapped up and she's like, "I used your own spells against you. Now everything you've done is being reversed." Like it's just, I'm sitting here Brittany was sitting there next to me, and I looked at Brittany and I went, "I don't know what I would have done if she hadn't told me that." I'd be so lost right now. But she literally says out loud, I've used your own book against you. Now everything you've done. You know how I can tell? Because of the smoke demons dragging him into the crevasse that just opened in the football field before us. That's how I know what's going on, because it's already happening. I just don't know what happened.
I mean,
I just don't get it.
That pretty much explains every problem with this show. I wanted to like this, but I knew within the first couple minutes of the first episode that this was not for me, which enraged me to a point of
because you wanted to like it.
Because I wanted to like it.
Yeah.
And again, because I don't know who the fuck this is for, and clearly the people that made it didn't either. All of it falls apart. The writer's strike may have gotten in the way of the last couple episodes. That's entirely possible. I don't know, but all of it feels disjointed, and I wanted to care about this. I really did, because I have a soft spot for Goosebumps. And
oh yeah.
And everything about it. I don't even think the people that they want to watch this, as far as Gen Z, have any fucking idea what Goosebumps is.
I mean, he's still coming out with books.
Okay, but they're not nearly the cultural. They didn't have nearly the cultural impact that they did when we were kids. And
no, that's true. And I am listening. I know people can see me looking down right now. I'm trying to find out if the writer's strike did affect Goosebumps.
So here's a thing from. This is just some guy's YouTube video, but. Disney Plus Goosebumps delayed SAG after writer's strike, and this is back from August 9th of 2023.
So they may have gotten everything else written?
Yeah, I mean, that's entirely possible. Does anyone know why Goosebumps on Disney Plus has episode 9 and 10? This is funny. This is a Reddit post. Just finished Goosebumps, and I really like the first 8 episodes. It has the progression that keeps building and building. By the time episode 8 comes around, the plot is firing on all cylinders, which I agree with. It ends with an almost total resolution of the entire first season's plot. Shows Slappy isn't dead, and then credits roll. It would have been a perfect ending to season 1. Now, here's my problem, because the show doesn't end there. After episode 8, which feels like a real finale, the show kicks back into what feels like the beginning of season 2.
Who's this? Let's give them credit. I mean, doubtful they'll ever see it, but who's the user on Reddit?
Archducky.
Archducky. That's a really good name,
That is a good name.
I like that. Yeah, Archducky's absolutely right, though. The nail on the fucking head. Right there.
So, I mean, it's good to know that we're not the only people fucking thinking this. This is from 1 day ago. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say about this, man. It like had real potential. I feel like they underutilized the haunted mask like crazy. That's something that also drove me nuts.
And that was always my favorite one.
Yeah, and again, that's one of the best ones, and one of the, especially from the 90s TV show, one of the ones that everyone knows. Yeah. So, you know, they just didn't know what to do with the original source material. I like the attempt of having to bring all this stuff into one like actual timeline where everything happens around a certain set of events and shit. I love cool that concept. Idea. The idea is great, but I just don't. The music. I fucking hate the music. There's so many things that I could pick apart in this. The way they use the same "I'm the bad guy," 3 goddamn times. I will say the music is so nail on the head at the end of every single episode. Ugh. Yep.
I do like that the first episode ends with, "I get those goosebumps every time." It's like the one main popular song that I think fit really well.
Well, they do a remix of it at the end of season or episode 10 too, which when I heard that, I was like, why didn't you just have a different artist do 10 different versions of this song? It would have made so much more sense to just let a whole bunch of people like.
So I have to be honest with you. When I could tell that it was the end of the episode, I actually just turned it off.
I don't blame you at all. Not a little bit. Not even a little.
I got the vibe of it ending. I looked. There was like a minute and a half, 2 minutes left, and I went, "Oh, okay." I put on The Simpsons.
Yep. I want to go back to Reddit for just a second here. Excuse me. This is from user Happy Steve. I have nothing to back this up, but I feel like the part of that book publisher saying it's really great, now change the ending is mirroring real life. Like they had the 8 good episodes and then some executives said, write some kind of cliffhanger and tease the second season. Which, you know,
they did.
Yes, having Slappy open his eye at the very end of episode 8 is teasing season 2.
Yeah.
But I do like this idea of the publisher is just Disney Plus saying, give us 2 more. I love that idea. I don't know if it's true or not, but
yeah.
Yeah. See, every user on here, I was surprised Hulu had more after what I felt like was a finale. We're not in the fucking minority here on this one.
No, we're actually the majority for once. That doesn't happen very often.
Yeah. That's a good point. So I don't know. Let us know what you guys thought about Goosebumps season 1. I am looking forward to seeing what they do with season 2, because what the fuck are they going to do with season 2 now that they've kind of ran their whole timeline into the ground here?
He's looking forward to it. I'm just interested.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to see what they do. At the very least, I doubt it'll be any good if these last 2 episodes are any indication of what we have in store for season 2. But let us know go ahead.
It just, dude, it's all about the kids and how it's happening to the kids in episode 2. The only way you go anywhere with it is now Margot goes off to Portland, and now it's just a teen drama. It's not Goosebumps anymore.
Seattle.
Whatever. It's all depressing and sad and cloudy.
So let us know what you guys thought of the first season of Goosebumps down in the comments. If you got to the end of this, thank you so much. We really super appreciate it. If you do like this, make sure you go check out all the other stuff that is on our channel, because there is a ton of other content like this on there. We also are on all of your favorite podcast readers like Spotify and Apple Podcasts, whatever else you use, so you can actually listen to this without having to see our horrible looking faces. Thank you if you did get to the end of this.
Bitch, I'm beautiful.
No, we let that one go. It's dead.
No,
that's a dead meme.
It's back.
Dead meme.
Bringing it back.
Dead meme. And so thank you guys for watching, and we will see you guys next time from the deep. Bye-bye.
Ta-ta.